Hello, everyone. Welcome to It's Sybil. I am Sybil Wilkes, and welcome into everyone on this end of the week for
Yeah,
us. We appreciate it. And on this day, we welcome in our mental health and wellness contributor, Aprylete Russell. Aprylete, how are you?
I am well today. So happy to be
Good.
here and see your smiling face.
And you yours.
Yeah.
And Aprylette has a guest today. And would you introduce, and we will get started with our conversation.
Yes, this is Miss Tracy Berry McGee from St. Louis, Missouri, my hometown. I'm so happy that you are here today. She is a licensed therapist. She is an author. She is a speaker. She has a nonprofit. She has her own practice for women and girls. Like you are just doing a lot of amazing work, not only in St. Louis, Missouri, but really around the globe when it comes to empowering young girls just growing up and defining themselves as powerful and confidence and things like that. So I'm just so excited to have you. And I do want to say that on this platform, I am a mental illness and health advocate and I speak from experience, but I really just wanted the audience to get in-depth insight and kind of like just listen to some tips and tricks from a therapist, to just have like that one-on-one interaction with you through the screen. So I'm just so
Hmm.
excited to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. I appreciate you. This is what keepers are. And Sybil, you've just always been there. You've been a pillar in our community. And so to be a part of this day and this moment, I just appreciate it so much. So thank you for having me.
Well, you're very kind, and we are just so glad to have you on a day like this where the news is not great. And I tell people this all the time. Um, News is my love and it's my wheelhouse, but there are days like this where it really does just saps my soul. It
Yeah.
just takes a lot to do the stories and then to talk about them and to find out as much information. And sometimes you find out information that just kind of overwhelms you, and that is today. But I'm really glad that you're here, Tracy, and I thank you, April, for bringing Tracy to us. And we'll start with the newsletter. And if you don't know, Tracy, we have a newsletter called What You Need to Know. It's absolutely free. We ask people to subscribe by going to sybilwilkes.com, giving us your name and your email address. And what we do is what we learned to do with Tom Joyner, and that is to super serve the African American community with our topics, with our stories. We do political, we do coronavirus, still do coronavirus updates or other health updates. And Aprylette has recently joined us this year as, not this year, but within the last year,
Mhm.
as a mental health and wellness contributor. She's here with us once a week. We also have youngins who contribute in politics as well as LGBTQ plus, and then we also have social justice. And Aprylette, we're going to start with your story today, and talking as we have mentioned about talking about mental health and wellness.
Okay, perfect. So, in this story today, we're talking about a bill that was introduced to the Colorado Legislative, and they are seeking to add yearly in-person mental health assessments for students ranging from sixth grade to high school. So, this is going to be just like if you have an eye exam, an ear exam, you're going to get a mental health exam. So, when it comes to the bill, it's known as the School Mental Health Assessment. It's House Bill 23103. Um, and it pretty much is we're going to require the school that chooses to participate to give parents a written notice for the first 2 weeks at the start of the school. So the parents can opt in and opt out. What the issue that's coming about is that students over the age of 12, they do not need parents' consent to go ahead and get the exam. So there are some teachers in the Denver school district. They are for a program that this is kind of modeled after. So the program, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry, let me back up. The program is called I Matter. And in that program, it gives students 6 months of free therapy. So they already have that going on. It's already funded. It's already something that's implemented. So this bill comes on after this to kind of like catapult this program, right? So there's a lot of teachers in the district saying that they're for the program, they're for the 6 months sessions of therapy, but the bill saying to do evaluations yearly of mental health, they're not really for that. Now, the Children's Hospital in Colorado, they're on board for the bill. They're saying that they just declared a state of emergency due to a lot of calls for mental health when it comes to children back in 2021 after the pandemic. A lot of mental health organizations say that they would like to see the bill renewed. They're trying to see if this is going to help in a timely manner. So say if you are giving a child the assessment and there is a risk of suicide or some type of diagnosis that's kind of being found, what is that review time like? What happens after that? Like what goes on after, you have this assessment, and then what? So there's just a lot of questions, but this bill is supposed to be in the legislative in February 7th, actually, for them to vote on it. And for me, I feel like this is kind of progressive. I feel that this is just a critical moment that we're in, just coming off of the pandemic and just being an advocate, like really bringing mental health and mental wellness to the forefront. I believe that children need their mental health assessed before they could really learn, to be honest. And a lot of teachers are just not equipped to teach and to train and to help and to do all of those things that children need at that critical age.
So Tracy, we're going to talk about what you do and how you work with young people in our next segment, but just overall, does this bill sound familiar? Have you heard of this before in another state, maybe even in Missouri?
Well, it's an interesting situation here because I work with a lot of different schools, and oftentimes our kids are the ones that are labeled the hardest. And the first thing that a parent says when they bring their daughters in to see me is, what type of diagnosis are you going to give her? Is it immediately that we're going to say she's ADHD or she's oppositional defiant? And so the moment that you take this right out of a parent,
what child is not oppositional defiant?
Right.
From
But to
many
put
parents'
that
perspective.
label on a kid at an age where they're really still trying to grow, I think if you're going to put resources in place, that's the key. Because we have some schools that will have all of these labels and no resources. And where does that funding go? Because if you label my child and I don't have the insurance or the therapist and the resources that are there for them, then what happens? And so I think it's layers. There's some yes and no, but the fact that even a child, there something in there said a child can make a decision
at 12.
Yes, at 12, the law in Colorado.
No, so that's no, not at all, not at all.
So it says that the bill has children at age 12 can consent to the mental health assessment even if the parents do not.
How does that make sense?
I that was a question I had for Aprylete. If you had any more information on that, I don't know how they make that decision. So 6th grade, 12 years old, you can make that. That doesn't sound. And I mean, my God.
Yeah,
I have signed permission slips when I was a little girl. I learned how to sign my mom's name real quick, but not for a mental health assessment.
Yeah, but okay. So when it comes to the mental health assessment, maybe you can give a little more insight. Is there a criteria that you have to meet? Is there something? Because I know there is some mental health assessments that you can take online. You can go to mentalhealthatamerica.org and take a quick quiz, a quick assessment. So what is the difference when it comes to in the classroom? So,
well, it is more in depth. You have to follow the DSM, but you also have the parent fills out forms and informations, and the teacher, and if you're working with a psychiatrist or a licensed therapist, because I'm a licensed therapist, but I can't provide medication.
Right.
And oftentimes when you're talking about a child psychiatrist, we already know that the hospitals are filled and the clinics, it's very difficult to get in to see a licensed psychiatrist. So now that you've diagnosed this child, now what are you going to do to make sure that they get the resources that they need? Are you going to now have psychiatrists in prescribing the medication?
Right.
You're going to have a full-time nurse in the schools? It's because now that you're aware of it, you got to do something about it. You got to have a solution.
Right. Absolutely right. It'll be interesting, Aprylete. I hope you will follow up on this story. And I think Colorado's very interesting because when I think about Colorado and the mental health of people, there have been a number of cases, and Elijah McClain is one case of a young man who was he was abused by police. He was on the autism spectrum, and the police accosted him as he was just running to get a beverage that night. And the police, and he said, please don't touch me, and he's trying to explain, and in the middle of whatever he was going through, and not wanting to come in contact with these police. And they ultimately called for the ambulance, because they took him to the ground, and the ambulance gave him ketamine, and that sent him into cardiac arrest, and this boy died. So there's a lot of misunderstanding about where people are, what their needs are. And so I hope that this will bring some clarity, Aprylete and Tracy, in terms of the people in Colorado. And Lord knows we could probably use it in a number of other states too.
Agreed.
Absolutely. Among the other stories that we're talking about in today's newsletter, and we'll delve into this a little bit more in depth, but Coy Malone, our social justice activist, is talking about what is going on in Memphis, Tennessee. And this is every human being's nightmare. I was going to say a parent's nightmare, but this is every human being's nightmare, in which a young Black man was stopped by police in Memphis, Tennessee. 5 Black policemen pulled this kid over. He was just yards away from being home, and did not understand why they were stopping him. And ultimately, they beat him to such a situation that he was in the hospital. He was hospitalized for 3 days, and then he subsequently died, 29 years old. And his name is Tyree. And the beating is so brutal, they could not immediately show the video of this, and there's going to be some editing of the video that's going to be made public tomorrow. In the meantime, these 5 Black policemen have been arrested. They've been fired, they've been arrested, and they've been charged. And so we'll talk about that as we get into the meat of this show. But it is it's just horrific. It's just, and once again, it's a situation where Ben Crump is coming to do the legal job, and Reverend Al Sharpton is going to be in Memphis next week to eulogize him.
Yeah.
And this is a cycle.
Ever end or cycle. Like, when will it ever end?
It's unbelievable. And the most, and so I was talking to a friend of mine and said, 5 Black cops, and they beat the living daylights out of this young Black man. And he said, you know what? And I'm interested to hear what people have to say about this. He said, sometimes as a Black man, the last thing you want to be pulled over by is a Black cop. And I never thought of that. But he said the difficulties can be just as strong and just as pronounced with Black or blue on Black crime in the person of a Black cop.
There's no color, as they say.
No, absolutely not. So we will talk about that. So if people have some comments, and I'd like to hear you, Tracy, in terms of how we come back from this, or how we adjust our heads, and especially your young people that you work with. My wheelhouse is really politics. And so this is an interesting time to be one who is a watcher of politics, no matter if you're in Chicago, where I grew up, or in Texas, where the politics are crazy, or if you're in Washington, D.C. And the first story in our newsletter today is headlined "The Big Payback." And the current Speaker of the House is, who barely got there, by the way, Kevin McCarthy, barely got the position. And we saw that week-long voting in which he was, making deals, playing let's make a deal with his fellow Republicans to get this job. He now has a position, and he says he's not. But all signs point to, like the magic 8 ball, all signs point to the fact that he is paying back on behalf of Donald Trump and others. And the payback involves two very strong Democratic congressmen from California. One is Eric Swalwell, and the other is I'm just missing his name. Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff is, both of them were prominent in the trials against Donald Trump. And they were also members of the Foreign Intelligence Committee. This is one of the largest committees. It's called a select committee. And it's a big deal to be on this. And so they were on this during Nancy Pelosi's chairmanship. Now that things have changed, Donald Trump's person in the House, Speaker McCarthy, has said, nope, they're coming off the committee. And these are committees that the Speaker makes the decision about. No matter what the House leader for the Democrats, Hakeem Jeffries, says, you cannot go against him. He makes the decision, and he's filling it up with a lot of radical, what some claim as radical Republicans, and those who are going to be looking into the Biden administration, weaponization of politics and all of this stuff. And one of the other people that has been kicked off of a committee is Ilhan Omar. She is part of the squad. This was the group of young Black congresswomen, including from St. Louis and Ilhan Omar from Minnesota, and AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez from New York. And so they did not like her. They don't like her for some comments that she has made about, she is an African-born now American citizen. And so they don't like her, and they want her off of this foreign policy committee. So now they're getting some pushback on this, because this is a situation where if they're going to vote her off, the whole House has to vote. And some Republicans are coming to her defense. Okay. And so it's going to be interesting to see how this all works out, and what happens with Adam Schiff, and what happens with McCarthy, who's in such a precarious position. You know, his deals that he made with the devils there in the House only takes one person to say, I don't like this, and we're going to put you up for election again. Wow. And, you know, to get you voted out as Speaker of the House. So the politics, the merry-go-round, all of this is very interesting. I think Ilhan Omar will be okay if it is only go up to McCarthy and some of the other Republicans, Adam Schiff and the other gentleman, Eric Swalwell, both representing California. And interesting, because so is McCarthy. You know, this is going to be quite it's like a shakeup. Yeah, it is. It is. It's like a snowball of craziness. Yeah. And by the way, Adam Schiff is like, I'm done with you. I'm going to run for the Senate. Okay. He's like, I'm out of there. Yeah, he's made his announcement today that he's going to run for the Senate and push Dianne Feinstein out of a job. But she's 90, so it's about time. It is about time. So I just want you all to kind of pay attention to this and watch what goes on, and keep your scorecards at the ready, and see how this all works out. I have my scorecards ready because of you. I will say that. I have learned so much about politics, more than ever, right here on more than you really want to. I know. You're like, enough. No, but it's so important, though. It is very important. We have to stay alert. It is. I think so, and I want people to be involved and engaged, because if we don't get involved, we don't know who our mayor is. By the way, early elections start in Chicago, by the way, for mayor and other city appointments, city offices. So Chicago, you know how to do it. You know how we do it. We vote early and often. And so I want people to know who, because as important as it is to vote for president, vice president, and your members of Congress and Senate and what have you, the further down the ballot, and by down ballot, as you are making your choices and you go down the ballot, the further down, the more important and more direct contact you have with these people. The judges, like, that's exactly important. The state attorney, the judges, and so forth, and in some cases it's the sheriffs. And
Mhm.
and it's not just an
The
appointment by,
treasurer, how they're
yeah,
spending,
how
the
your
state's
money is being
money.
spent, how your
Yes.
taxes are being
Yes.
amassed. And so just keep an eye on all of this, and especially as now we're getting into the year of local politics as well as the governorships. So and speaking of COVID, as we were a little bit ago, there is a Republican who's running against the Republican governor of Mississippi, because he doesn't like because this guy has been told that his COVID. He's a doctor, and he's been told that um, his ideas of using ivermectin, which is the drug that Donald Trump and others wanted to use in place of COVID vaccines, that they use for animals. He's been called out as a quack. And so now he's going to take on the Republican governor. So it'll be interesting to see how Mississippi, which often runs last in a lot of different areas,
Yeah.
including education, and healthcare, how this all plays out too. So keep your eyes on that. All
Yes.
right. So now it is time for us to move to our what's really going on section. And Tracy Barry McGee, let us find out who you are, who your people, where are you from?
I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. Born and raised, been here for my entire life. And I am a licensed therapist. I also am an author. I call myself an empowerista for women and girls.
I love that.
And I have a movement called the I Define Me movement, where girls and women know that I define me. And we do that through journaling, through poetry. I love to write, as well as I'm also a talk show host. I like to
Awesome.
focus on wellness and opportunity, knowledge, and empowerment. Literally, Sybil, as a therapist, I know the importance of us taking care of ourselves first. And so different things happen in our lives that put us in different positions. And this stage where I am today, the pandemic put me in a space of really focusing on wellness more than ever. Lost my mom and dad during the pandemic,
I'm sorry.
knowing that, thank you, I couldn't practice anymore.
Mm.
Because I was dealing with grief. And so now what I do is I make sure that everything is about awareness. I love that Aprylete is a mental wellness advocate, because our community, we need to make sure that we take care of ourselves. And so
Absolutely.
that's the platform I have, and I'm going to use it.
And that's an awesome platform to have, and I'm sure your parents would be very proud of you for doing that in your community. Aprilette, you
Yes.
how did you come to meet Tracy Barry McGee?
Oh wow. So I met Tracy actually through a news segment at Fox 2. So everyone knows that I'm a former journalist back in St. Louis. So she used to come on Fox 2 all the time. And I'm sure you still do your segments. And she was pretty much like our in-house therapist. And so she does like amazing things in the community, and being an advocate is always like looking up to people like who came kind of before you, or just
Mm-hmm.
are doing a lot and doing more. And I was having a conversation with her and how I felt kind of inadequate because I'm not licensed. And I always feel that people are looking for more answers than I can give. But as I've always explained, that I do my research. I speak from an advocate standpoint. I speak from lived experience. So she just kind of reminded me, it's just like the awareness, like the stance that you're always taking is good enough, like using your voice. And that's how this relationship has built. And I think that just her empowering women and girls, and just even how she just leads with love, and how she talks and how she speaks, like it just, you just gravitate to her.
Absolutely, absolutely. I feel it as well. Tell us about the young women that you work with, Tracy.
So it's Sister Keeper is spelled with the A. And I think it's important for our girls to know that we may have biological sisters, but that A means we're all sisters. And
Mm-hmm.
we're keepers to our community, to the issues that impact our community. And that's breast cancer, domestic violence, suicide prevention, HIV awareness, all of those issues that as women collectively, we can be keepers to each other's issues. So we specifically work with middle and high school girls. Like I said, it started in my basement in 2002, and now it's global. It's in New Mexico. We have presence in Africa, in Thailand, in Germany. And for
Wow.
me, it was basically my girls were struggling. We are in the Ferguson, Florissant community in St. Louis, Missouri, trying to define themselves, understanding that we needed to see culturally relevant materials and understanding the value of educational equity. So when these girls come into our space, or when we go into the schools, they have a safe space to talk and understand that we're better together and we have more in common than we do different. And we can all become advocates for awareness. Just like Aprylete said, there's a lot of life coaches out there, but your lived experiences are the things that we connect on so that we don't have to suffer in silence.
That's beautiful.
And so the different age groups that you include in your organizations, what are they?
So we have I did it all through. I'm a writer, so so my first book focused on the elementary school girls, because I think that your mother is your first keeper, right? My mom was a mom, and she said that it took a village for her to raise me, but I listened to her. So our elementary school girls is the first group, and they're keepers. And then we have a book for our middle school girls, and everything is also online where they come together and we meet once a month. And it's so important that we do. I love it in your hashtag, what you need to know. We have a part of our curriculum called What I Want to Know.
Oh, cool.
So they literally put everything like in a fishbowl or in a box, and they write notes, and we talk about those things. And because our girls have questions,
sure,
when it comes to cycles and relationships and all those different things. And then we have a group for high school girls. And so we've done that. I have a private practice. Everybody can't afford therapy. So we have circles for our girls. And now we have new therapists in our office that have, they call them the Wellness Sisters, and they have groups for the women 25 to 35.
Oh, that's awesome. That's my little age group right there.
Yes. And that's the thing. You all are more aware of therapy because we have reality TV and people are going to see therapists. So that's important. And then we have our group for women, and we call it Womanish. And that's 35 and up. And what we realized is we needed to separate it out, because whenever we go and do conferences and do summits in the community, we have moms that are going through some of the same things that their daughters were experiencing. So we needed them to be in a safe space to be able to work through some of those issues.
Yeah.
Right.
That safe space word, I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
It's so important. And when you say moms who are going through, like I just turned 30. Well, who just turned? I'll be 31 in 1 month. Okay. So I have just turned 30. So I'm 30 and my mother is 50. So we're like, 20 years apart, right? So what I am going through, and she's going through something at 50. I'm going through something at 30. And that safe space that you said is just so very important for mothers and daughters. Like, this may be kind of off topic, but just like to have a safe space together, because what she's going through, I can't really necessarily relate, but I have to realize that she's changing her whole life around at 50. Just how I'm walking into 30 and my life is different and I'm going through, am I making sense?
Yeah. I think that, and Sybil, I know you can agree, when we've all experienced grief, it makes us be more intentional. Like this year, I love affirmation words. I'm always asking everybody, what's your affirmation word? This year, and this is January 26th. Everybody's saying my word is intentional. I'm intentional about where I spend my dollar, where I spend my time, who I spend my time with, how I take care of myself. Right. Because we've witnessed enough things in our life, even here in Tennessee, how short life can be.
Right.
Yeah.
It used to be that when we experienced our first funeral when it was someone older. Now we're experiencing funerals at all ages and stages of life. Yeah. So it's important that we have safe spaces where we can individualize that. But I also think there's a need for us to have that intergenerational piece of coming back together.
Yeah. Because we have been, I didn't grow up with my grandparents. My grandparents were in Kansas City, and then they moved to Los Angeles while I was growing up in Chicago. So I had aunts in Chicago, but I didn't have the grandparents. Both sets of grandparents ultimately were in Los Angeles. So it wasn't like that weekly gathering or meeting after church kind of gathering, or all of that a lot of people had of another generation. It was the moving on, and so and so got a job here, and and won't be home for a while, or whatever it is. But it's different, and we don't have that community so much anymore.
Right. That's true. I know. I was the latchkey kid. My mom was 15 when she had me, and so I had to stay in the house. And I grew up under what goes on in our house. What
stays in the house? Heck
yeah.
yeah.
And the kids today, they tell it all the tea. They're like, let me tell you what happened. And so that's the difference in the stages that we're dealing with. Our kids have a lot more autonomy, and they're realizing that they're watching social media and television. I say television, and they get everything out of a TikTok, right? And they don't understand that the parents don't realize that when you tell me, give me your cell phone, that's not it, because they also have access to their laptops and tablets. So exposure is everything.
It really is. I'm going to ask you a question. I do have other questions, but I also want to know if our audience has any questions for you, and our producers will put them up for you. But what's the greatest misconception do you think that parents have about their growing girls these days, and vice versa, that girls have about their parents?
Well, one of the things that I've been told is when I connect with the girls and I ask them, tell me what's going on with you. How can we connect you and the mother? Because honestly, I have moms that bring their daughters in and they say, you know what? I got my own issues, but fix her. You just
you take her.
and I'm like, no, mom, this is a system. Because guess what? When I'm done, she comes back home to you.
Yeah.
And so we got to work on this together. And that big thing of being your daughter's friend, nah, we
cut that out.
We can't. There's not a time for that. Now, Aprylete and her mom, they're in a different space.
Yeah, like now I told my mother we are just now becoming friends. Like growing up, she was not my friend. Like no, not at all. She was not my friend growing up. Like just now we became, that's my Rolly, that's my bestie. We're good. But growing up, no, she was strictly my mother.
Yeah. And we need, our kids are seeking role models. It can't be, and I love Beyonce, and it can't be the Beyoncés of the world. Our role models need to be in the librarian. Like that was my safe space. Drop me off in the library. But so I came up with this for our women. This book that I wrote, and I talk about the love principle, Sybil, and the L. The girls are saying, listen. Listen to me. They say nobody listens to me. This is why I can tell the phone everything. And our parents like, I wish you would go on social media and tell my business. Already told it in a TikTok. Just like that, right. So listen, we have to listen to each other. We really do. There's more that can be said outside of just social media. The O is we got to observe each other. Our kids need us to observe them. And I tell the girls, observe your parents' nonverbals. Even if they put on a mask, if she's mad, if she's sad. I know the moment she walks in the door, if she's had a good day or not. And we got to observe our children. Suicide is way too high. It shouldn't exist at all. But our kids, we're not observing when they're sleeping too much, when they're not sleeping, when they're on social media too much, when they're gaming too much. So we have to observe. And we, as African Americans, we read nonverbals really good.
Right.
That's why. Also, you mad, huh?
Oh, it's moving your head and your neck and all of that other stuff. Yeah.
So, and the V is validation. We all want to be seen. We all want to be heard. If somebody says, how you doing? We need to wait for a response. I see you. The affirmation, self-affirmation. I talk about self-love. We are taught as a community. I said, I love you. You're going to love me back. I got to love myself first.
Right.
I got to look in the mirror and really love myself. And when we do even our mirror exercises, the girls don't like to look in the mirror.
Yeah.
They don't like to get real close. They're like, You know, remember
Woo.
those Mary Kay mirrors where you take it and you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
No,
Because
get
that's
close up.
deep. That's deep.
That's right.
Mm.
That's right.
Because we've been told, you know, your lips are too big, you can scoop ice cream. Like I was bullied. Your hair is, you know, like you got Lil Kitchen, all of these things that people told us before we could really look in the mirror. So for me, I love affirmation words. So validation, we got to learn to affirm ourselves and validate each other.
Yeah.
And then the E is simply empower. The EM, empower, is we. It's a we thing. You know, we all we got. Really, we
Right.
are.
Right.
We really
Yeah.
are. And
That's
so that's
good.
important. How are we empowering them? The education system can't do it all. We got to read to our babies and read to our girls and you know, journal back and forth. All my mom's journals,
Oh, wow.
she left them to my daughter. And like over the holidays, we'll sit in the dining room table and just open up like she said this, you know. Oh, she said this.
That is awesome.
She's speaking to us.
You
know,
and you just don't know, you just don't know that voice from your past, or when, you know, that nugget will come to you, and it'll come at the right time, and that's really important. I think that is very key, and you encourage your girls to journal now. And are they diligent about doing that?
Oh, yes. All my girls are. We even have like all of our girls in our program all receive journals. We literally, you got to check it out, Sybil. We have a wellness mobile, the only one in the country.
I love it.
With girls on it. When we open the doors up, every girl gets a journal. So when I tell you we get to get our books, they take the pledge, they read out loud.
Yeah.
You know, and that's beautiful, because I know I grew up with the key. And it said, do not enter. If you enter, you will die. Don't open my journal.
Right.
Open my journal. And I'm going to tell you, though, what I found out. And my daughter is 31.
Shut up.
And let me tell you, that's my oldest. I got two daughters and a son. I remember taking her phone to the place. You know how you get your new phone? And they said, we're going to have to delete all this. And she was like in high school then. She was like, no, because it has all of my letters back and forth, her and her boyfriend. This is their journals.
Right.
You know, they keep it all in there.
Yeah.
They keep it all in there. But
Tracy, this is really this is incredible. And I'm gonna kind of take the lead here, Aprylete, and ask Tracy to come back and talk about this some more. But for right now, how can people follow you? How can they get more information about your organization and you?
They can go to I Define Me Movement. I Define Me Movement on all social media. I'm Tracy Berry McGee on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, all those different areas. They can follow us on the Own Your Now show. And definitely they can stay connected here, because I'm going to be in the chats too. I'm always in the chat.
I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it.
You're a great resource, Sybil. We appreciate you.
Oh, I appreciate you. It reminds me a lot of what my best friend and executive producer Yolanda Starks-White has done with young girls and Jules, her organization, with the mirror and things like that. And you take it to a whole nother level. It's very interesting and very empowering. So I thank you so much for joining us. Let's move to the trending topics. And as I mentioned, we're going to talk about this a little bit more. And Tracy, as someone who lives in Missouri, you know whereof we speak in terms of police abuse and what happens to our children. The 5 officers involved in the Tyree Nichols beating death have been charged with second-degree murder. As the public awaits the release of the video from the fatal beating, and that is scheduled to happen within the next 24 hours, by Friday evening, they're thinking. To Darius Bean, Demetrius Haley, Emmett Martin III, Desmond Mills Jr., and Justin Smith were all booked into the Shelby County Jail in Memphis today on a variety of charges, including second-degree murder, official misconduct, official oppression, and aggravated kidnapping. The stepfather of Tyree, Mr. Rodney Wells, said anything less than first-degree murder charge would be unacceptable. Well, they didn't get that, but they did get. It's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out, because we hear about plea deals and things like that. But for people who are still saying, what is this story all about? Tyree Nichols, a 29-year-old man, was pulled over for reckless driving January 7th, and things escalated to the point of a vicious beating from the police officers. He was hospitalized in critical condition from the 7th and sadly died 3 days later on January 10th. An autopsy conducted by a specialist hired by the family determined that Tyree died from internal bleeding caused by a severe beating. His family was permitted to view the police video from the traffic stop Monday, and it's expected the public will see, as I said, the video soon. And all 5 of the officers were fired almost immediately following the beating. 2 EMS workers were also relieved of their duties until an investigation has been completed. And in the meantime, we know the routine. Ben Crump has been hired as their attorney. Reverend Al is coming to town, to Memphis, to conduct the service and to pay homage to him in a memorial service. And once again, what should not be happening is parents burying their children.
At all.
Just described as a delightful young man who loves skateboarding and his Starbucks and sunsets. The answers regarding Tyree's death are still being asked. The Memphis police chief, her name is Sarah Lynn Davis, updating everyone as often as she can. Black woman who's been on the job for about a year, and said the clip will be released in coming days, promising her department will provide full cooperation to investigators surrounding this horrific event. I remember coming to Ferguson for the funeral years ago with Tom. And I also remember Rodney King. And Rodney King did not die, but his life was forever changed.
Right.
And in this same way, the lives of people who were involved in Memphis, the citizens there, not only the family and friends of Tyree, but all of us, for some reason, when they tell about these kids, you identify with it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You identify with it. And so how do we talk to our children, Tracy, again, about what has happened and how they go forth?
The thing about this is we're not talking about roots. We know history is something that we cannot forget, but this is today. And we constantly tell them the right things to do. We bring officers and different people into the church and the different communities and say the right thing to do. And our kids still become a hashtag. Tyree was doing, from what we know, the right thing.
Yeah.
And enjoying life, just being able to breathe and wake up and enjoy a skateboard, a cup of coffee, and a sunset. That's simple. I think what we need to remember is we can't get desensitized to this. We're like, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. But we also have to make sure that we push for transparency.
Exactly.
We can't just hold off and be like, that happened yesterday or last week or last month. It's happening every day.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to figure out what does a solution, or how do we advocate versus destruction, because we can't destroy our communities. We need our communities, but we need to be able to have these conversations with our kids. And so I think that's where we come to the table. Honestly, I talk to kids all the time, and this is simple. We don't even have family style dining.
Right.
So we got to be able to cut that TV off and say, guess what happened today? It's just like the movies. What did I tell y'all to do? But let's talk about this, because what did they say at school? What did you hear on the bus?
Yeah.
What did you hear on the TikTok or wherever you heard anything? And now let's talk about the solution.
That's right. That's right. We got to say their names too. We have to say Michael Brown. We have to say Trayvon Martin, we have to say, and now unfortunately we have another name. But the conversation is so very important that we have with our children and with each other.
Yes, yes.
I,
Girls, women, and it's not just the boys, you know, and
Right.
like you said, that's Tyree is our son, our
Right.
nephew, my
Yeah.
son. Anywhere it can happen, on a plane, it can
Yeah.
happen anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
so I have a not a question, but it's like if we have these conversations with our youth and our children, what are the conversations that we're having with what are the names, the authorities, like what are the
Mm-hmm.
other conversations that we're having, because we can do so much conversating with the kids and trying to prevent, but at the end of the day, like you said, just doing life, just enjoying the skateboard, enjoying your cup of joe. But how are we going to talk to the people that are actually doing the act and the crime? And when you
Well,
look at it
yeah,
alongside of this horrific event, when you look at how fast these officers were charged, how
Mm-hmm.
everything is moving
Yeah,
rapidly,
they
they
were
are
not
five,
playing.
not playing. And my this is just my opinion, because they're five black men. And we have
Mm-hmm.
seen in
yeah,
other instances when there are white officers where it takes a day and a moon set for them to file any charges, for them to do anything. So it's very interesting to me. They deserve definitely to be charged in all of those things. I'm not saying they do not. But if you see that at the end of the day, whether you blue, you're still black.
right.
And
Right.
they are getting reprimanded very quickly, more than what white officers that I've seen getting
Yeah.
reprimanded.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
So
my son, my son-in-law was a police officer for St. Louis County. He no longer is. Born and raised in Berkeley, in this community, wanting to make a difference. And one of the things that I found, and I think is important, is they need a lot of mental health training. And
Yes.
they need,
that part,
you talking about our kids being assessed from a mental, they need to do more
that part,
to really
yearly,
assess people,
daily,
because
monthly.
they're like, we live in St. Louis, everybody's hiring. So
Right.
you can go through training really fast. It's like being in the military. And these officers are trained to kill, but they
Mhm.
need some mental health
Yeah,
assessments
on a
for
on a
them.
on a weekly basis, because all of the
Yeah,
trauma that they go through in on the
desensitized.
days on the yes,
Even on a vacation, he could be called in.
yep,
Those little things are always in the house. You're listening. So desensitizing from this is hard for us. We can't,
Yeah.
white people can say all the time, I'm going to go on a vacation, or I'm going to tap away.
You
We can
can't.
never tap
You
away.
can't take a vacation from being a black person in
No,
this
you
country or
cannot.
in the
at
world.
all, at
In the
all.
world. Tony George, Yolanda, can you put that back up again? Tony was echoing what Aprylete was saying as well.
Yeah.
How the black cops are charged so fast, but the others take sometimes years. All of it from police officers is just sad.
It just I mean, it's not even like mind boggling or opens your mind, but at the end of the day, all the way around, it's tragic. And when you're black, no matter again
Mm-hmm.
what color you're wearing. So whether these officers are officers, they're still black and they're being treated like it is. But again, they deserve to be
Right.
charged. Like, I'm not saying that they
Yeah,
shouldn't,
yeah.
but when
And
you just look at the turnaround, it's very ironic. It's like, oh, okay.
yeah,
Okay.
I know another thing you said, Sybil, about the conversation with the kids is when you're going to sit, because I know in most houses it's more than just one TV. It's TVs all
Mm-hmm.
in every
Mm-hmm.
room.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we're we empty nesting, so we got CNN and different channels on all the time. But our kids are going to see this
Yeah.
over and over again.
Yeah.
And how many times are there things that aren't? They said that they were waiting out of transparency to make sure it's not as violent as
Mm-hmm.
it was.
Mm-hmm.
But even that's violent enough. Like,
Right. Right.
and
Right.
so our kids will see it. There's somebody that once you
And
see
that has it now.
that's right. That
So what
part,
do we
that
what,
part.
what do we
They
what do we
have it
do?
now, and it's just a matter of time before the full unexpurgated version of it is
Gets
shown.
out. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's like, what do we do?
Yeah.
How do we
Yeah.
how
And you
do we
can't
continue
unsee
to
that.
succeed?
You
Yeah.
can't. That's when trauma is real. It's
Yeah.
something that we have to address, and we also have to we have to also address fear, because I don't want to walk in fear. I don't want my kids, my grandkids. I have a grandson, granddaughter coming. Like, I don't want anybody. I don't want to walk in fear.
Right.
And so that's where we have to talk about that faith walk. But also, I think if we could see each other more, and I mean, like, I love social media and all of that, like everyone else, but we can't continue to walk around looking down.
That's right.
We
That's
got to
right.
see each other.
Yeah.
When I see you and I know you, then I'm gonna hold you accountable.
And I am a mask wearer, but I try to do what they used to do on America's Top Model is smizing, you know, so you're smiling with your eyes, but it doesn't often work. And especially the little children in the store, it scare them and stuff. But it's really necessary that we see each other.
Yeah.
Yes.
I wonder what these men saw.
Right, that made them
when they saw
do
this
the
boy.
5 of them.
Yeah,
and that's excessive. That's excessive at this point. Like,
that's where those evaluations come in, and you know, like,
Yeah.
go pull them aside and have some questions. Like, what made you? What? I don't have an answer. That's
the ego.
You know, so I can't, I try my best not to speak for someone I don't know, but I do want to know, as a therapist, I want to know your why.
Yeah, your why.
You know, at what point did you feel like this is not okay?
Right.
You know, we go too far, and we can never, I know people say there is a thin line, like, you know, where we all snap. But for everybody to snap at the
same time,
then you know how people do stuff and you like, this ain't your first rodeo.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you was too comfortable saying those words or doing those things or those actions.
Yeah.
So we got to figure out the why.
Yeah. I'm going to move to something a little bit lighter. I don't want to end on such a heavy note, but we will be keeping an eye on this story. And the other story that we'll have in the newsletter that I've been working on today is the shooting by a 6-year-old boy of a school teacher in Newport News, Virginia. Just an incredible story there as well. Incredible, and not in a good way, obviously. But as I said, I do want to end on a lighter note, and this is about bringing life into the world. Shamar Moore, a favorite actor, is a first-time dad. He's in his 50s, and he is a first-time dad, revealing on Wednesday his baby girl has arrived after his girlfriend gave birth to their first baby together, and they've named her Frankie. He said, posted, "Your boy is officially a dad" on Instagram. "Dreams come true. The rest of my life is here." Wow. He showed the little girl's face in a separate post, writing, "Baby girl in the building already, the love of my life." And I'm just so very, very happy. Beautiful. He's one of those guys who's just one of the nicest people. And he, you know, for whatever reason, he lost his mom a few years ago to MS. And, you know, now he's saying that, you know, she's living. And now seeing him, you know, go through this, so which is really great.
Congratulations.
Also, yeah, absolutely. And also, Nia Long confirmed her relationship status after a video surfaced on social media showing her walking hand in hand with singer-songwriter Omarion at the LA premiere of her latest Netflix project called You People. She stars with Eddie Murphy. In the video, the stars seem in good spirits as they pose for the paparazzi. They even shared a hug on the red carpet. The video went viral, many fans wondering if they were in a romantic relationship, and the dating rumors prompted Nia to say, "I spend a lot of time taking care of other people," she said, "but I just want y'all to know that I am single AF."
Okay.
Okay. Let it be known. Let it be known,
right.
honey.
That's
Don't
right.
attach me to that boy.
That's right. She said, you know, she is a woman, likes to keep her business to herself, but she wanted everybody to know she's single AF. And all of her personal business became very public last year when her fiance, the Boston Celtics head coach, Ime Udoka, was revealed to have had a relationship with a female member of the Celtics staff. Wow. And it ultimately caused the breakup of their relationship, and he was suspended as the head coach for the year. And but she's out there. She says she's back home in Los Angeles and taking care of her boys, and she's good. She's good. She's good.
Yes.
We also close, I want you to know, Tracy, close with our daily inspiration called Yogi's Jewels. Yogi is our executive producer, Yolanda Starks. And so today's jewel is surround yourself with people who feed your creativity.
Yes.
Yeah.
I received that.
Absolutely.
Yes. Amen.
Absolutely.
Yogi for that.
I thank you so much, Tracy. You have been a day brightener. Aprylete, thank you for connecting us and bringing Tracy to our platform. And Tracy, come back anytime. We'd love to have you. And once again, how can people follow you?
They can follow me on social media, Tracy Berry McGee on all platforms. They'll be able to find me, the I Define Me movement, Own Your Now show. And I'm in the community. So if you see me, you do know me.
And we're always going to remember love and what that
Yes.
acronym is. Absolutely.
So much.
Thank you so much, everybody. Be good to
Thank
each
you.
other. And we'll see y'all soon. Aloha.